Welcome to the Builders of Authority podcast, a show committed to helping you build authority for your brand. In the realm of business and personal branding, authority stands as a cornerstone. Authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time. So join us as we build something remarkable together. And now, here's your host, Adam McChesney.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Builders of Authority podcast. Our title sponsor for the podcast is Go High Level, also known as GHL. GHL is the first ever all-in-one platform that will give you the tools, support, and resources you need to succeed and crush your marketing goals. Personally, I have used this software since 2020, and it's been a game changer for my business and our clients. If you are looking to level up your CRM and marketing game, then this is the platform to use. You can find a link for a free and extended 30-day trial with tons of Builders of Authority bonuses in the show notes. So take advantage of this opportunity to adopt GHL's amazing software and grow your business. Today, I'm excited about the opportunity to interview someone I had the chance to meet back in June of last year while speaking at an event with him. Since then, we have spoken at multiple events together, and I've really just enjoyed having this person in my support system, in my corner. He may not know it, but I'm a huge fan of everything he's doing with his work, constantly learning from him, and I respect the heck out of him, not just for who he is in business, but who he is as a husband, father, and just a genuine human being that wants to see the best for other people. Recently, I had the chance to be on his podcast. I'm excited to interview him here today. My guest today is Jason Raitz. Jason is the founder and president at Speak with People. Jason, welcome to the show, man.
My goodness, Adam, thank you so much. What an honor. Thank you for the incredibly kind words. And it's been awesome. Love this relationship and feelings mutual. Learning a ton from you.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate it. I could tell from the first time back at the Savannah Bananas baseball game when we first connected, I was like, man, this is somebody I want to learn more about and learn from and do life with. So it's been awesome, coming up on, it'll be a year and a couple months, just seeing even your progress, some of the stuff that you've been doing. So tell people a little bit about kind of your journey, where you started in business and life, and then kind of how you got to where you're at right now.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, absolutely. I knew from a very young age that I was created to encourage people. My name, Jason, actually means healer. And so I've never physically healed anyone, but I've always had a great love for being on a stage, or being in a conversation that brought joy or brevity or jokes, or did he really just say that, just those kind of things where, life is hard. People are getting kicked down. Business goes up and down. Family life's so difficult. I just always knew from a young age, I wanted to be someone who could maybe come into the moment and speak a little life, speak a little joy. Don't do it perfectly all the time, but I knew that, 11 years old, on up. So spent a lot of time on stages in front of people in the church world, in public schools, and now in the corporate world. And so I started Speak with People because I have met so many leaders who just feel like their voice is never heard. They feel like they're passed up. They feel like they don't get the opportunities to, share at the regional conference or do the pitch or even be heard in the team meeting. And so we started Speak with People because we wanted to help leaders become exceptional communicators. Because really, as a leader, when you know how to communicate, whether it's one-on-one, to a team, from a stage, or on a screen like we are now, you really will build influence. You really will build trust, and you really will put yourself into, rooms, chairs, stages that you always dreamed of. So Speak with People, we help leaders become exceptional communicators. We do that around those 4 disciplines. I spend a lot of time actually in the financial industries, teaching them how to kill it with their client communication skills. So there are so many reasons that people can leave an advisor or a banker or a financial professional. But if your communication is frequent, if it's trustworthy, if it makes you feel like, wait a minute, I was really heard, you're going to get referrals, you're going to get revenue. So on top of that, I coach executive leaders how to become just a really great speaker from the stage, how to kind of take their speaking to the next level. So that's what we do. We have a podcast, we have a weekly blog, and we travel around and help leaders do all those kind of things.
Love it. Thank you for that overview and summary. What I love about what you guys have built, and I look at what you've built is very similar to kind of what we've built with Builders of Authority, is we have group stuff and then we have one to one, right? So one to
Yes.
many and one to one. And so with that, right, when you're doing what you do, you have the ability to help somebody. And when most people hire a speaking coach or a communication coach, it's like, hey, I want to go get better on stage. Well, it's like, that's great. But what you also do, and where I think there's even more value for people, is how do you communicate better with your team? How do you
Mm,
communicate better with your clients, with your personal relationships? Because that's really the thing that will eventually get you better to speak on stage. Now, once you start speaking on stage and you've done it time and time again, it is about crafting that talk to get it just a little bit better. But you can't, in my opinion, have one without the other. You need to be good at both.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We've kind of identified what we call the pathway. So we're really passionate for leaders. I'm in a lot of rooms where people would not say that they're a leader. Well, I'm
Mm,
just a financial advisor. Well,
yeah.
I'm just an insurance agent.
Hmm.
I'm just a sales person. I'm
Yeah.
not a leader. Well, our friend Dr. John Maxwell would disagree. He says that leadership is influence. So if you have any type of influence in your home, in your neighborhood, in your workplace, you're a leader. And communication is how you steward that influence. So the stronger, the more effective, the healthier your communication is as a leader across those four disciplines: one on one, to a team, from a stage, from a screen, the healthier your leadership influence is going to be. And in order for that to happen, you've got to stay on what we call the pathway. So it's a 10-step process. It's daily. It's a continual check-in. So much of it is the inner work that has to happen, because if your inner world is toxic, if your inner world is not taken care of, then what comes out of your mouth is going to be pretty awful. And we've all been around leaders, right? Who they communicate out of fear. They communicate out of aggressiveness, manipulation, control. The harder, I mean, this is like the workforce, right? Forever, 50,
Yep.
60, 70s. The harder I push people, the more I make them afraid, the more that they'll respond. Well, I was working on an MBA. I was handed a book called Primal Leadership by Daniel Goleman, and it exploded everything for me.
Mm,
His research actually shares the opposite, that if you actually lead and tap into people's emotions, that if you lead from a place of trust, if you lead from a place of collaboration,
mm.
that people actually work harder for you because they enjoy what they're doing. They don't always have to look over their shoulders and see, they'll want to share new ideas. And so this pathway keeps a leader healthy and effective. And so, it's half internal skills. So checking in on my health, my mental, my emotional, my physical, my relational, my spiritual, if you're a person of faith, your financial health, all of those healths are important.
Mm,
Sometimes leaders just get the outside. I'm crushing it with my workouts. But on the inside, they're having depressive thoughts, anxiety's rattling them. They've got to get their health in order. We talk about your authenticity. I mean, if you want to come across as a leader who, communicates audience first or people first, you've got to bring your authentic self. And so
mm.
often we just try to be someone that we're not. So there's these 10 of those on this pathway. And we say, hey, this is a continual, keep walking through them every day, working hard on that. And if you do the hard work on that, as you're speaking with people, that's what we call the one-on-one. As you're leading with people, that's what we call leading a team, or leading up, leading down, to the side. As you're presenting with people, I'm standing in front of a room on a stage and I'm communicating, or you're communicating with a screen. We call that online with people. Your communication's going to be effective. People are going to listen to you. They're going to lean in. They're going to be captivated because they're going to be like, wow, something's different about them. And primarily, they're healthy, and that's how their effectiveness comes through. So that's what we try to do. That's what we try to bring to the world to help leaders experience.
It's incredible because I think, like, so often, right, especially with everything that's happened since the pandemic, where it is, more virtual and all those different things, like a lot of people don't focus on the etiquette or the communication beside, oh no, I'm just gonna get on Zoom, or I'm gonna send a text, I'm gonna do all this stuff. It's like if I look back, whether it's a Slack message to a client or to a team member, to all an email, right? Like if communication isn't there from the beginning, it's likely going to get misinterpreted. They're going to take it the wrong way, or maybe they take it a better way than it actually is. When you're like, no, I really need you to like fix this and do this differently. And so I find myself of being like, hey, if I can level up my communication skills, it's the key to unlock so much
Yep.
else in my
Yep.
business and in personal life, where it's like, okay, you can be really, really good at the thing, right? Like, because this is the next question I was going to ask you, because I know a lot of people that listen to this, right? They want to build a brand, they want to speak on stage, but so often people are like, well, I haven't done enough yet in order to be able to speak on stage. But I'll be honest, right? There's a lot of people that have done a lot of stuff and then they get on stage and you're like, wow, they should probably get off stage because they don't want to be up there. They want their experience, their accolades
Yeah.
to like be the thing that people are, most wanting to see. And that's just not it. So what advice do you have to somebody that's like, hey, Jason, I'm loving what I'm hearing. And my goal for 2025 is to get on more stages.
Ooh, yeah, that's great. Be super transparent, vulnerable. My 20s, I was about the biggest prick you'd ever meet. I, I could barely fit through the door frame when I walked in any room because my head was so big. And I'll just say it this way: some leaders do have a stronger gift of stage communication than others. There's a reason why you watch an Oprah or a Simon Sinek or a Mel Robbins or, name. There's a reason why they're at that level, because they can tap into people's emotions, captivate an audience. But that does not mean, if you don't have the super elite power of communication, that you cannot communicate effectively in a strong manner, make a great pitch. So if you want to get on more stages, the thing that I recommend to my clients all the time, and so I kind of have 3 different coaching packages for leaders. One is, okay, I just got to get better at public speaking, because my boss is saying, when you stand up in front of our room to do an update in the team meeting, nobody knows what the heck you're talking about. Okay, so let's work on some of those skills. Let's work on how to prepare, how to speak confidently, how to position your body so you're actually standing up in confidence, how to, prepare slides. I was just in a presentation last week in Minnesota, and the person before me, their slides, there's a room full of 40 people. I'm kind of the keynote speaker next. Their slides, they just basically put Excel charts, and nobody can read all the numbers. Like, what are you doing? Little things like that, right? So it's public speaking. The next one is kind of that executive leader. So maybe I'm C-suite, I oversee employees, I'm doing talks at regional conferences. I got to level this up. And then the last one is business leaders who want to be professional speakers. So how can I start making $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, be asked back, be a referable? Regardless of any level of that, I say the same thing to all my clients: just start speaking. There's an hour blocked off on my calendar every week where I stand in front of a mirror, as painful as it is, and I just go through my signature messages. So I have as a communicator, I have a couple signature messages. Speak with people, not at them. This is also my book that's coming out. Sorry, shameless plug. It'll be out in quarter 2 of this year. But so many of us as leaders, we put up barriers in between our communications, self-made barriers. And it's things that it just blows your mind. Things like, we're in a conversation with somebody, and I just keep looking at my phone every 2 seconds. I keep looking at my watch, and I'm like, you're putting up those barriers. People are thinking, you don't care about what I have to say.
Yep.
Your body language, you do the universal, signal of defensiveness. You cross your arm, there's those type of things. So how do I remove the self-made barriers, create a bridge so this connection is so strong, so trusted? You talked earlier about the client focused. A lot of the research I do, if you're in a client focused industry, average salesperson is reaching out to their client once every 3 months with some type of check-in. That gives them a 22% favorable rating in the eyes of the client. So when someone says, I use them for business, and you only reach out once every 3 months, your rating is 22%. If you do it once a month, And I understand some people listening might have a giant book, 300 clients. Okay. But once a month with even a simple bit of communication. Hey, I was thinking about you today. Sorry, the Buccaneers lost. It goes up to 77%. So even little things like that, it just tears down the barriers and you build trust. So I do my signature message, speak with people, not at them. I practice it. I go over the different modules. I have a kind of my other premier one is speak with your client. And so this is the pure client focused industries, financial advisors, real estate agents, insurance agents. How do I become so trusted that client is telling Aunt Sarah, neighbor Shelly, boss Bob, you got to meet this person. So I practice. You got to practice.
Yeah.
You got to do the opposite of Allen Iverson. If you're old enough to remember his famous interview, practice. We talking about practice. You just got to practice. 2, use what you have. Like you have a phone, you have a camera, you have a YouTube. Start filling your own YouTube channel. I think every leader should have their own podcast. People say all the time, there's too many podcasts. Not really. Last research I saw, 3.7 million podcasts, about 800,000 of them, they didn't even get past the 7th episode. So they're just sitting there. So use your voice, practice it. Sit in front of a camera and learn how to look into the lens so you're not looking like a robot when you're talking. And then say, this is the opposite of what most speaker coaches will tell you, but I coach, say yes all the flipping time. Say yes. Say yes. Rotary meeting, yes. Chamber of Commerce meeting, yes. Nursing home, yes. Your kid's classroom to 4th graders, yes. I don't know, 1,000 times, 1,500 times I've been in front of people in some presentation type. Every single opportunity has prepared me for whatever could come my way. When I'm standing in front of 1,500 high schoolers at a public school assembly, that's a pretty scary crowd, like they can eat you alive. That prepared me for the rooms of 30 people that I communicate now who all make $1 million. And they're looking to me at how I can improve their communication skills so they can make more money, how they can level up their business. So say yes. Look for those different opportunities. Get in those Facebook groups in your local town and find out when there's connection meetings. Just get in front of people. And then 4th, I'd just start reading. A little shameless plug, the Speak with People podcast. We have a couple of podcast series, one called The Presentation Blueprint, which is just my own personal 6-step philosophy on how to develop a presentation where you'll have maximum confidence and you'll captivate an audience, because 80% of it is the preparation. And so if you're 80% prepared, focused on your audience, that's going to take away all the time that you normally have to worry about your own nerves, how you're going to come across, how you look. And then you just get focused on providing content and value. So we have a free series about that. We also have a course and a download that you can get this, it's just step-by-step process to be able to put all your information in a clear, logical way. I'd say the last one, just study speakers. Google Simon Sinek, Google, just watch them, see what they do. That would be a couple of, steps that I'd give you to, how to get in those places. I guess the big answer too is then you got to put yourself out there. And this is kind of the next level. So if you want to start getting on more stages, we all think that the phone is just going to ring. It's just going to ring. It doesn't just ring. Like maybe if you're absolutely famous, you did the Hawk Tua joke and now, like everybody in the world knows you, but everybody has to still pick up the phone. Everybody still has to prospect. And so start to create a couple of assets. So when you do reach out to people, I always say to speakers, have a one sheet, a simple 8.5 by 11, big picture of you, the problem that you address. And so I flailed as a speaker for a long time because I wanted to speak to everybody. I could speak about communication skills, and I could speak about leadership, and I could speak about failure, and I could speak about grief and, humor and whatever. When you start to find that niche that also solves a giant problem that your potential target audience is facing, that's just magic. So have that on your one sheet, your contact information, put together, some videos of you speaking in front. I know people that literally went into a hotel conference room when nobody was around and just filmed themselves in front of a room and then created a reel from it. And then the other thing that I tell people all the time, make a list of every single person you know that you think would have a connection somewhere. And then send them that email, shoot them that text and say, hey, Bob, man, you've been a huge resource over the years. I'm taking this step to, start my speaking business. I would love your help. Is there anybody that you could pass my information on? And then work the system. That's I've seen it work time and time again.
That was literally like a complete blueprint on everything that you need to do start to finish. So I'm really glad you said multiple things there that I just want to reiterate for the audience that I basically went through back in 2022 when I really started to do stuff, taking speaking seriously. So with that is the first aspect is actually practicing. Right. So I hired a coach back in 2022 that was like helping me with this stuff. And it was for the first time that I had to like not just practice it, but also get myself recorded and then go back and watch it with just the audio, watch it with just the video, then watching it with all. And like, there's a whole method to the madness that I know, and that you teach your clients. Right. But like, it's treating it as if it is a part of your daily routine or weekly routine if you want it to actually take off. And that was a big change for me, which led to the last 2 years of having all of these different opportunities. So there's that aspect, but there is the aspect of like manifesting it. So in 2022, at the beginning of the year, I literally said, hey, I just want to speak on 5 stages this year. Had I not said that and said it out to the world, like, again, maybe I would have still got it, but from that post, I had multiple opportunities come in and I had 5 stages booked by May of 2022 because I finally said, this is what I want to do. And so often people don't practice, they don't manifest it, they don't tell anybody that they want to do it. And as you mentioned, just expect phone to ring.
So good. That's incredible. So good. Yeah, the manifest part is huge. Like if you're not putting it on a wall somewhere, if you're not, I have multiple databases. The Google spreadsheets. So in my industry, the stages that I want to be on, if I'm on LinkedIn and I see an event and I'm like, I want to be on that event, I put that information on my spreadsheet.
Yep.
I find out who the person is to contact, Yeah, I dream of a day where, the phone will just ring. I'm not to that Ryan Leak level, the corporate speaker where it's like, hey, we've got to, get that person. But I'm also, at a place now where, I think last year spoke 50 sometimes at different events, want to do more this year. And the manifest part is just absolutely huge. We kind of snicker sometimes when we're like, should I really get a coach for this? I mean, Tiger Woods had 17 different coaches throughout his career. I mean, if you really want to level up to that area, it just gets you further faster. Yeah. You could figure it out on your own eventually.
Yeah.
A coach will be able to do that. I think that's huge. Now, a coach could also speak truth into your life. Like I have a client who they came to me this way. They have a very difficult time communicating from a stage. They just kind of collapse their tone, the whole thing about them. Well, okay, that could be you, but with some coaching and some help, we can help get you through that. So yeah, those are huge steps.
Yeah, no, I mean, like with all this stuff, it doesn't matter what it is, speaking obviously just being one of them, but when you do hire the coach and hire the right coach for the right reasons, many reasons, you will also find out that they're able to provide additional above and beyond what you hired them for, but it will absolutely condense the amount of time it takes you to get from A to B without having to go through the whole grunt process on your own. Like I tried for a year and a half to get better at speaking. It wasn't until I hired a coach and worked with them for 90 days that I was able to actually condense all of the stuff that I thought that I needed. And as well, right, when you pay for something, you're a lot more likely to actually buy in. Like,
Yep.
for example, I had a weekly coaching call with a guy and then I went to bi-week, all those different things, right? So like putting money down and having some skin in the game allows for you to also have the buy-in that it's like, okay, hey, I'm going to go take this seriously. So talk to me a little bit about paying or getting paid to speak. So, right. So you have like the free stages, you have, hey, like I've paid to be on stages as well, where it's
Yep.
like, I got a ton of business and exposure, totally worth it. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to get paid to speak on stage. I've been paid, 4 or 5 times, but it's never the people that I end up doing business with. Like it's this, hey, they want Adam to talk about X, Y, and Z. But I think a lot of people get this assumption that it's like, oh, hey, I'm just going to go be a speaker and just start getting paid immediately for every talk that I do. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. 1998. I'm gonna age myself here, my friend. It was the first time I was paid to speak, and so I was a youth speaker back then, and I got booked to speak at a weekend retreat for students who were court appointed by the Darke County Courthouse in Ohio. So I'm there with like 40 students. They're all in juvie and detention halls. And I think, by the third hour, my wallet was stolen. And, at the end of the day, I got like a check for $174 because they took my food out of it or something. And I thought, this is incredible. Like I got paid to stand up and communicate in front of people. And so it's possible. It's a $1.9 billion business, speaking. And so couple different routes to go. One is, certify up. So become a part of the National Speakers Association, pay the $1,000, get that. So then that puts you in all of their databases, all those kind of things. You can do that, those kind of things. In the very beginning, what I would recommend if you're saying, okay, I'm ready, I've got a signature message, and I believe that it's going to really solve problems for my target client. Number one, clarity is your friend. So you've got to know who to prospect to and who to reach out to. So, I'll just use my industry, for example. So, primarily I'm speaking to financial advisors, wholesalers, licensed bankers, people in the financial industry. So when I go to Google, the best prospecting thing we have available, or even ChatGPT, and I ask ChatGPT, give me a list of 50 of the top, financial insurance companies, give me their website, all those, it will track all that stuff down for you. So you can build, your first spreadsheet to be able to do that. So it depends. Do I want to speak at conferences or do I want to speak for companies? So, kind of two different approaches. So for me, if I want to speak at financial advisor conferences, I have a whole spreadsheet of every single event that I can find. I Google, National Financial Advisor Conference, Regional Financial Advisor Conference Northeast, all the different, you gotta amass, all of that data that you possibly can. At the same end, you've got to look into all of your connections that would lend into that industry and start with them. 3, I'd make sure that I have a clear, speaker promo kit ready to go. And most tell you need some type of reel. So whether it's 1 minute to 3 minutes, it could just be it doesn't have to be the cheesy, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest speaker of all time. It doesn't have to be that, but it could just be a bunch of short clips of you on a stage in front of people. And then, you talking heads speaking to the problem that you face. And then bonus points, if you have spoken at an event before, if you can grab some footage of people who heard you and get their, responses, great. So you have some type of shorter video, you have some type of one sheet information, that you're ready to go. And then, for sure, like you can answer without a shadow of a doubt why your message is going to be helpful for them. Because really at the end of the day, speakers get paid for the problems they solve. And so I love to entertain. I'm a storyteller. That's great. But when I'm going in the rooms with people who make lots of 6 figures, they don't necessarily, it's not, they'd rather just go hire a comedian for that. I want to get the skills that I need right now. So get the clarity, exactly your message, and it's going to morph, over time as you find that. The clarity of your target audience. Number 2, who is that? start figuring those kind of things out. Maybe it is, 5. I saw you, Adam, speak at RoofCon last year. Okay, so it's, all the building conferences. I'm going to put those in a spreadsheet. I'm going to start with the info at emails. I'm going to, search LinkedIn for the people who maybe run that. And then I'm then going to write some type of drip communication. So I have a drip communication sequence that I send to either conferences or companies that, starts from everything from the first LinkedIn message to, hi, my name is Jason, blah, blah, blah. This is what I do. Would love to connect sometime. To the second one, then they get an email. Then depending on their role in the company, they get a letter because I want them to get something in the mail as well because I'm just kind of an old school guy. I love handwritten cards, that kind of thing. And then if I could find somebody that's also connected with them, I'll ask them, 2 weeks ago, I'm in Naples, Florida for Fifth Third Bank. And the regional manager loved the presentation. She had happened to ask the corporate technology officer from Fifth Third to be at this meeting. Well, okay, then. Always helpful to have somebody from corporate, when you're wanting to, because I've only spoke for a couple regions of Fifth Third. They've got regional events and national events. And so you just kind of have to keep building those things. So you have to have a clear system. I say this to everybody that I meet, jason@speakwithpeople.com. Email me. I'll share my stuff with you. Like if you want to see it, because it's, it's just what I'm learning. It's what I've learned from other people, but I would make sure I have those assets. And then I would just set a goal. So is it 5 prospecting emails a week? Is it 10? Is it 15? And I would just start dripping that stuff. I wouldn't be like the over obnoxious folks on LinkedIn that were like, you haven't responded yet, like
yeah. Oh yeah.
Those type of things.
You get a lot of those.
Absolutely. But it's really just that process then, making sure you have absolute clarity of your message, clarity who your target is, start prospecting that target, come up with your drip communication sequence, communicate with them, and then, keep asking. Because if for me, if I can get them on a 15-minute call and I can pitch my talk, boom, that's the absolute win. So after I speak somewhere, then I have another sequence that I send to the person who booked me and the people and part of that team, that by like the second email, it asks them, hey, would you take a second and just forward this attachment to somebody that in the industry? So I'm also trying to employ, other people. So the other thing that you have to make sure sorry, I'm babbling here for a second, but I get this question all the time.
This is literally great.
How much should I charge? And so everybody asks that question, right? Like, how much should I charge? And so have an idea. What is it? For me, I have a virtual charge. So I have a 0 to 30 minute virtual charge. If I do a training, I have a 31 minute to 60 minute. Because if I'm going to, spend an hour it's going to just be a different cost. So I have 2 different costs for that. Then I have an in-person presentation. And so at a lot of the regional meetings I go to, I get 30 to 45 minutes. I'm sandwiched in between a bunch of other speakers. Well, what does it cost me? What does it cost them to have me present at the event plus travel? So I have that fee. And I have a workshop fee, which is, I think probably I love workshops. Get 2 to 4 hours with people, role playing, ideas, brainstorming. I have that fee, and then I have a keynote fee. So, work those out ahead of time. If you've never spoke on a stage before, I wouldn't shoot for 5 figures. I wouldn't say, $10,000 right off the bat. But it's fine to say, well, one, what budget do you have available? And so you can kind of speak into that. There's been a few times I quoted someone last year to speak at a tax collectors association national conference. They really do have them. And I quoted them at like 8,000 and they had 6,000 in the budget. And so they just said no without any, so I came back to them a week later and I said, hey, how far off are we? And they're like, well, we're 2,000 off. I was like, you could have told me that. Like, let's have some conversation. So if you lead with the budget question, you're going to get an idea. And sometimes the person's going to, if their budget's 8, they might be saying 6.
Yeah.
Leader, use your own, sales skill on that, but have those numbers kind of in place, and if you are called and you want to absolutely get on stages, I wouldn't let the money the first year get in the way. Oh, they only have $1,000. They're only going to take care of my travel. Get those behind you, because if you can say, for me now, I'm trying to get kind of a whale that I want to speak to, but I'm able to say I've spoke to Truist Wealth, PNC, Fifth Third, Huntington Bank, all these banks. They're like, oh, okay. So, get onto some of those, and then make sure that you're able to collect that money. If you have a credit processing system that if you get paid $3,000 for a talk and they want to pay with a credit card, that's a lot of change, that you're using. So, these are all important things to get into place. I also have, and I can give you the link if you want to send it out, Adam, but I have a checklist that I put together from beginning to end, for speakers to be absolutely prepared for your gig. It's all the way through. I put together a course called Speak Like a Leader for those people who are like, all right, it's time. I'm ready to get paid to stand on a stage. What do I got to do? And so it's different, when you go to a conference and it's free, they take care of your travel. And now all of a sudden they're like, hey, we're going to pay you $8,000, $10,000, $15,000. Okay. We gotta provide. I just listened to a podcast this morning with Mel Robbins, and she was talking about the first time she, got a $50,000 check. And she was like, damn, like I better, knock this out of the park.
Yeah. Well, it levels up as well. Like if I would have gotten paid right out of the gate, it probably, as with anything, you'd be like, okay, well, I need to get better and do all this stuff. And so there is that escalation period, or as you mentioned, like only $1,000 are paying for your travel. Like that's good. You're better than 90% of the people at that point where you're probably at in the process. So it isn't always about just getting from, oh my gosh, doing it for free to getting paid or getting paid right out of the gate. But you also said one of the different aspects of like leveraging your connections and taking it from one step to the next. And then when you do have it, putting together that like real type video and saying, hey, I've already spoke at all these other places, and having that baseline. But the thing you said about budget, like somebody reached out to me right after I had just started working with my coach and I had not been paid yet to speak. And they were like, hey, Adam, what can you send over your one pager with the packages and all that stuff? So I called my coach and I was like, hey, and he didn't answer right away. So he sent it over. So I ended up hopping a call with them. And, they asked me what I charge, and I hadn't have anything. So I was like $1,000. And they were like, well, we really had budgeted about 3,000. Can you do an extra session and we'll pay you 1,500? And I was like, yeah, sure. But like, had I not, like, just if I would have just asked, like, hey, what's your budget? I would have gotten probably more money out of it. So that is a great tip for everybody as well.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes if you set up your menu in packages, you can say, the bronze, silver, gold, or whatever, and to be able to say, for $5, I come in the night before, I do a pre-call, I do, all you just kind of load up each one. Sometimes they love to see that as well. And most often they'll go with the middle one. They may even level it up because they're like, oh, wait a minute, it's only 1,000 more or whatever it is.
Yep, absolutely. No, Jason, wow, this has been absolutely awesome. I really appreciate you just sharing like an entire blueprint, a wealth of knowledge about all this stuff. Where can people stay connected with you and learn a little bit more about what you have going on?
Absolutely. Yeah. Speakwithpeople.com. If you go to our website, you can sign up for our weekly communication guide. It's a weekly email that has these kind of tips in it to help you become an exceptional communicator. We have a weekly blog. So every single week there's content. We air 2 podcasts a week on the Speak with People podcast. And my email is jason@speakwithpeople.com. If there's a way I can help you, I'll, send you forms. I'll send you different kind of, things that, every way I can help until it gets to the point where I'll say, hey, I think you're ready for a coach, or, here's the different program. So really, really appreciate it.
No, certainly appreciate you coming on. I know how busy you are and all the stuff you have going on, man. So again, not only did I get more information for myself as well, selfishly, that I needed to hear today from you, but I know the audience grabbed a lot of nuggets from this as well. So thank you so much for coming on, man. It's always great chatting with you. And thank you again to our title sponsor, Go High Level. Without them, we aren't able to produce the quality of content or having amazing guests on like we did today with Jason. Check out a free and extended 30-day trial in the show notes. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review as well. We're making a big push for reviews this year, and it definitely helps move the needle. Remember, authority isn't built overnight. It's built over time.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get notifications as new episodes become available. If you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. We sure do appreciate it. Until next time, friends.